We have no choice, any of us, but to come out in our tens and hundreds of thousands, outside 10 Downing Street, to Keir Starmer, to send him a message: you will not intimidate us into silence.
Tommy Robinson's recent public broadside against UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer was nothing short of incendiary, capturing widespread attention and fueling debates across political and social spectrums. Robinson, a controversial and divisive figure in British politics, took aim at Starmer's tenure in office with a fervent critique that pulled no punches. His remarks targeted not just the policies and decisions of Starmer's government, but also questioned his leadership style and ideological foundations. The event unfolded as a dramatic moment in British political discourse, illuminating deeper rifts within the nation and sparking a cascade of implications that reverberate far beyond the immediate confrontation. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The timing of Robinson's tirade was significant. It came at a moment when Starmer's leadership was under intense scrutiny due to economic challenges, social unrest, and policy setbacks. The Prime Minister's government, elected on the promise of delivering stability and progressive reforms, has faced mounting criticism for its perceived inability to address pressing issues such as the cost of living crisis, housing shortages, and concerns over immigration. Robinson seized upon these vulnerabilities, framing them as evidence of Starmer's failure to fulfill his mandate and asserting that his leadership was eroding the trust of the British public. Robinson's approach was characterized by his trademark bluntness and populist rhetoric. He painted Starmer as out of touch with ordinary Britons, accusing him of prioritizing elite agendas over the needs of working-class communities. This critique was aimed at undermining Starmer's credentials as a champion of social justice, portraying him instead as a technocrat disconnected from the realities faced by those struggling to make ends meet. Robinson's words resonated with segments of the population who feel increasingly alienated from mainstream politics, highlighting a broader sentiment of disillusionment that has grown in recent years. At the heart of Robinson's critique was his focus on immigration, a topic that has long been a lightning rod in British politics. He accused Starmer of pursuing policies that have exacerbated social tensions and placed undue strain on public services. Robinson's framing of the issue was stark, emphasizing the cultural and economic impacts of migration in ways that appealed to nationalist sentiments. This line of attack underscored the enduring salience of immigration as a divisive issue in the UK, one that continues to shape political narratives and influence electoral outcomes. Another key element of Robinson's criticism centered on Starmer's handling of law and order. He argued that the Prime Minister had failed to adequately address rising crime rates, particularly in urban areas, and suggested that this failure was indicative of broader weaknesses in his governance. Robinson's rhetoric in this regard was designed to tap into public fears about safety and security, leveraging these concerns to question Starmer's competence and resolve. This narrative sought to position Robinson as a voice of the disenfranchised, speaking out against what he characterized as the government's complacency in the face of mounting societal challenges. Robinson's remarks also extended to economic issues, with a particular focus on the cost of living crisis. He criticized Starmer's economic policies as ineffective and out of touch, claiming that they had done little to alleviate the hardships faced by ordinary citizens. This critique resonated in a context where rising inflation, stagnant wages, and increasing inequality have created widespread discontent. Robinson's framing of the issue positioned him as an advocate for those who feel left behind by the political establishment, using the economic struggles of everyday Britons as a rallying point for his broader critique of Starmer's leadership. The personal dimension of Robinson's attack added another layer of intensity to the confrontation. He questioned Starmer's character and leadership style, portraying him as indecisive and overly cautious. Robinson's rhetoric suggested that these traits had hindered Starmer's ability to respond effectively to the challenges facing the nation. This critique was aimed at undermining public confidence in Starmer's leadership, casting doubt on his ability to navigate the complexities of governance and deliver meaningful change. Robinson's tirade also highlighted the role of media and public perception in shaping political narratives. He accused Starmer of relying on favorable media coverage to deflect criticism and maintain his image, a claim that resonated with those who view the mainstream media as complicit in propping up the political establishment. This narrative tapped into broader concerns about media bias and transparency, further fueling the sense of disillusionment that Robinson sought to exploit. The implications of Robinson's broadside against Starmer are far-reaching, extending beyond the immediate spectacle of their confrontation. At a basic level, the event underscored the polarized nature of contemporary British politics, where populist figures like Robinson can command significant attention and influence. His critique of Starmer resonated with segments of the population who feel disenchanted with traditional political parties, highlighting the challenges faced by leaders seeking to bridge divides and build consensus in an increasingly fragmented society. Robinson's remarks also raised questions about the durability of Starmer's leadership and the future direction of his government. While some viewed the attack as a politically motivated stunt, others saw it as a legitimate challenge to Starmer's authority and vision. The intensity of the criticism underscored the pressures faced by Starmer as he seeks to balance competing priorities and deliver on his promises. The confrontation with Robinson served as a reminder of the volatility of political discourse in the UK, where leaders must navigate a complex landscape of competing interests and rapidly shifting public opinion. Moreover, the event highlighted the enduring appeal of populist rhetoric in British politics. Robinson's ability to galvanize support and command attention reflected the potency of his message, even as it drew sharp criticism from opponents. His focus on issues like immigration, crime, and economic inequality tapped into deeply felt concerns, illustrating the challenges faced by mainstream politicians in addressing these issues effectively. The confrontation with Robinson served as a reminder of the power of populism to shape political debates and influence public opinion, even in the face of opposition from established political and media institutions. In addition, Robinson's critique of Starmer had implications for broader debates about the role of leadership and accountability in politics. His emphasis on Starmer's perceived shortcomings as a leader resonated with those who view politics as increasingly detached from the needs and concerns of ordinary citizens. The event highlighted the importance of strong, decisive leadership in navigating the complexities of governance, while also underscoring the risks of relying on rhetoric and image over substance and action. The confrontation between Robinson and Starmer also reflected deeper cultural and ideological divides within the UK. Robinson's framing of issues like immigration and crime as existential threats to the nation's identity and stability resonated with nationalist sentiments, while Starmer's more measured approach reflected a commitment to inclusivity and progressive values. The clash between these perspectives illustrated the challenges of finding common ground in a polarized society, where competing visions of the nation's future often seem irreconcilable. While the immediate impact of Robinson's broadside against Starmer remains uncertain, its implications for British politics are likely to be far-reaching. The event underscored the enduring appeal of populist rhetoric and the challenges faced by mainstream politicians in addressing deeply felt public concerns. It also highlighted the importance of leadership and accountability in navigating the complexities of governance, while raising questions about the future direction of the UK in an increasingly polarized and uncertain world. Robinson's critique had the hallmarks of a calculated strategy, designed to ignite controversy while positioning himself as a voice for disenchanted citizens. His speech radiated conviction and indignation, drawing on themes of national identity and sovereignty to galvanize support. This appeal to patriotic sentiment resonated particularly among those who feel the fabric of British society has been undermined by perceived neglect from the ruling elite. Robinson's rhetoric, though polarizing, highlighted a potent fault line in British politics: the widening gap between the working class and the political establishment. One striking feature of Robinson's attack was the precision with which he targeted Starmer's policy decisions. His criticism was not scattershot. Rather, it zeroed in on specific issues such as housing, energy prices, and healthcare shortages. By anchoring his points in concrete grievances, Robinson lent his arguments an air of legitimacy that appealed to the frustrations of many. For example, his commentary on housing underscored the government's failure to meet the demands of growing populations in urban and rural areas alike, suggesting a lack of foresight and prioritization. Robinson portrayed Starmer's administration as being mired in bureaucracy and ideological platitudes, incapable of delivering tangible solutions to everyday problems. Another focal point of Robinson's attack was the cultural dimension of policy under Starmer's government. Robinson expressed disdain for what he described as the erosion of traditional British values, criticizing the government for promoting diversity and inclusivity initiatives that he claimed alienated the majority population. This narrative was designed to stoke a sense of cultural anxiety, appealing to those who feel their way of life is under threat. While such arguments are highly contentious and often dismissed as inflammatory by critics, they carry undeniable weight among segments of the population who perceive these initiatives as neglecting or sidelining their own identities and struggles. Robinson's rhetoric also delved into the role of the UK on the global stage under Starmer's leadership. He accused the Prime Minister of diminishing Britain's sovereignty by bowing to international pressures, particularly in areas such as trade negotiations and climate change commitments. By portraying Starmer as subservient to globalist interests, Robinson tapped into a potent nationalist sentiment, suggesting that the government was compromising the nation's independence for the sake of appeasing foreign powers. This line of critique played on Brexit-era frustrations, reawakening debates about Britain's place in the world and the balance between cooperation and self-reliance. Central to Robinson's takedown of Starmer was an overarching critique of governance itself. He painted the Prime Minister as emblematic of a political class that prioritizes ideology and appearances over practicality and results. This framing went beyond policy disagreements to question the very framework of leadership and decision-making in contemporary Britain. Robinson suggested that Starmer's government, like its predecessors, had become disconnected from the realities faced by ordinary citizens, entrenched in a system that rewards conformity to elite norms over meaningful change. The power of this critique lay in its universality, resonating even with those who might otherwise reject Robinson's broader platform. The way Robinson presented his arguments also deserves scrutiny. His speech was laced with emotive language and dramatic flourishes, calculated to grab attention and hold it. Yet beneath the theatrics lay a carefully constructed narrative, one that sought to weave individual grievances into a larger story of national decline. By positioning himself as a truth-teller standing against a corrupt establishment, Robinson aimed to cultivate a sense of urgency and rally support for his worldview. This approach reflects a broader trend in populist politics, where emotional appeal often takes precedence over nuanced policy discussion. The attack also illuminated the evolving role of media in political discourse. Robinson's ability to amplify his message through social media and alternative platforms underscored the diminishing gatekeeping power of traditional outlets. This shift has created a more fragmented and contested information landscape, where voices like Robinson's can compete with mainstream narratives on an increasingly equal footing. For Starmer, this represents a significant challenge, as it requires navigating an environment where criticism can proliferate and gain traction rapidly, often outside the bounds of conventional media oversight. The implications of Robinson's broadside extend to the political opposition as well. His critique of Starmer implicitly challenged the broader Labour Party, raising questions about its ability to connect with working-class voters and present a compelling alternative to the Conservative Party. Robinson's rhetoric, while aimed squarely at Starmer, also carried an undercurrent of disillusionment with the political system as a whole. This sentiment, if widespread, could spell trouble for Labour's efforts to consolidate support and regain its traditional strongholds. The attack on Starmer also has ramifications for political discourse in the UK. Robinson's unapologetically confrontational style exemplifies the polarization that has come to define much of contemporary politics. While this approach can energize supporters, it risks deepening divisions and fostering an environment where constructive debate becomes increasingly difficult. For Starmer, the challenge lies not only in addressing the substance of Robinson's critique, but also in doing so in a way that avoids further entrenching these divides. Moreover, Robinson's remarks highlight the broader ideological struggles shaping British politics today. The confrontation between Robinson and Starmer can be seen as a microcosm of the tension between populism and progressivism, nationalism and globalism, and tradition and modernity. These struggles reflect deeper societal shifts, including the impact of globalization, technological change, and demographic diversity. For Starmer, Navigating these dynamics requires a delicate balancing act, one that acknowledges the concerns of Robinson's supporters without compromising his own principles or alienating other constituencies. The event also raised questions about the role of populist figures in shaping public opinion and influencing policy. Robinson's ability to command attention and frame debates underscores the power of charismatic individuals to disrupt traditional political norms. However, this influence comes with risks, as it can lead to the oversimplification of complex issues and the erosion of trust in institutions. For Starmer, responding to Robinson's critique requires not only addressing the specific issues raised, but also reinforcing confidence in the democratic process and the legitimacy of his government. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Tommy Robinson's attack on Keir Starmer? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.